Okay, so that was a gruesome scene. Duncan is now murdered, but nobody knows it yet except Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. And somebody's been knocking on the door. And so Shakespeare got the idea of, hey, what a perfect time for some comedy relief. So bring in the comedy relief in the form of the porter. Here's the knocking indeed. If a man were porter of Hellgate, he should have old turning the key. Knock, 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 who's there? In the name of Beelzebub, here's a farmer that hanged himself on the expectation of plenty. Come in time, have napkins and I'll about you. Here you'll sweat for it. Knock, knock, who's there? In the other devil's name, faith, here's an equivocator that could swear in both the scales against either scale, who committed treason enough for God's sake, yet could not equivocate to heaven. Oh, come in, equivocator. Knock, knock, who's there? Faith, here's an English tailor come hither, for stealing out a French hose. Come in, tailor, here you may roast your goose. Knock, knock, never at quiet. What are you? But this place is too cold for hell. I'll devil porter it no further. I had thought to have let in some of all professions that go to the primrose way to the everlasting bonfire. Anon, I pray you. Excuse me. Remember the porter. And then he opens the gate. Okay, what was all this nonsense about? The porter, it's early in the morning, so the porter obviously would rather be asleep. So he's not, there's knocking on the gate, and he decides that he's going to compare the gate that he's going to open to the gate of hell, which kind of makes sense because there's just been a major murder that's gone on. There's been some chaos, and so why not? The first guy, well, first he says maybe it's a farmer who hanged himself because he expected too much, and so when you kill yourself, you go to hell. So there could be a farmer at the gate. Another possibility. It could be an equivocator. Equivocators lie for their own benefit, and so there's a chance that when an equivocator dies, he'll go to hell. Haha, very funny. Then maybe it's an English tailor who was stealing a French hose. Maybe that's a time joke that we won't get today, but maybe back in those days it was kind of funny. The English and the French don't get along too good. And then he says he's finally tired of playing the hell porter. It's too cold anyway. Hell is supposed to be hot. And so he opens the gate. And in come Macduff and Lennox, which I think is weird because they came in with King Duncan. They were in the list of people who entered the scene in Act 1, Scene 6. And now they're re-entering the castle. Did they leave? Did they go to the grocery store or something and come back? It's not very clear what's going on. But obviously they weren't present in the castle when Duncan was murdered. So Macduff, finally he speaks, because I've been talking about him for days, comes in and says, "Was it so late, friend, ere you went to bed, that you do lie so late?" Oh, so they say that it's late in the morning, but it's still dark outside. All right. "Faith, sir, we were carousing till the second cock, and drink, sir, is a great provoker of 3 things. What 3 things does drink especially provoke? Marry, sir, nose painting, sleep, and urine. Lechery, sir, it provokes and unprovokes. It provokes the desire, but it takes away the performance." Lechery is illicit sexual acts. "Therefore, much drink may be said to be an equivocator with lechery. It makes him, and it mars him. It sets him on and takes him off. It persuades him and disheartens him, makes him stand to and not stand to. In conclusion, equivocates him in a sleep, and giving him the lie, leaves him alone. I believe drink gave thee the lie last night. That it did, sir, in the very throat on me. But I requited him for his lie, and I think, being too strong for him, though he took up my legs sometime, yet I made a shift to cast him. Is thy master stirring? Enter Macbeth. Our knocking has waked him. Here he comes. Good morrow, noble sir. Good morrow, both. Is the king stirring, worthy thane? Not yet. He did command me to call timely on him. I have almost slipped the hour. I'll bring you to him. I know this is a joyful trouble to you, but yet 'tis one. The labor we delight in physics pain. This is the door. I'll make so bold to call, for 'tis my limited service. And Macduff goes into Duncan's room, leaving Lennox and Macbeth there. I don't know if the porter sticks around or not. All right, so Lennox says, goes the king hence today? He does. He did appoint so. The night has been unruly. Where we lay, our chimneys were blown down, and, as they say, lamentings heard in the air, strange screams of death, and prophesying with accents terrible, of dire combustion and confused events, new hatched to the woeful tone. The obscure bird clamored the livelong night. Some say the earth was feverish and did shake. 'Twas a rough night. I don't like small talk, but that's what's going on. Excuse me. Okay. Remember, any bird reference, that counts. All right, so what a strange evening of weather it has been. My young remembrance cannot parallel a fellow to it. Re-enter Macduff. All right, Macduff comes back in. Oh, horror, horror, horror! Tongue nor heart cannot conceive nor name thee. What's the matter? Confusion now hath made his masterpiece. Most sacrilegious murder hath broke ope the Lord's anointed temple, and stole thence the life of the building. So Duncan's body is being compared to a church, and it is now lifeless. What is it you say? The life? Mean you his majesty? Approach the chamber, and destroy your sight with a new Gorgon. Do not bid me speak. See, and then speak yourselves. Macbeth and Lennox go into Duncan's room to look. Meanwhile, Macduff tries to sound the alarm. Awake! Awake! Ring the alarum bell! Murder and treason! Banquo and Donalbain! Malcolm, awake! Shake off this downy sleep, death's counterfeit, and look on death itself. Up, up, and see the great doom's image. Malcolm, Banquo, as from your graves rise up, and walk like sprites to countenance this horror. Ring the bell! Ding, 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 ding! Enter Lady Macbeth. What's the business, that such a hideous trumpet calls to parley? The sleepers of the house, speak, speak! Oh, gentle lady, 'tis not for you to hear what I can speak. The repetition in a woman's ear would murder as it fell. Enter Banquo. Oh, Banquo, Banquo, our royal master's murdered! Wait, he just said that... Macduff just said that he couldn't say what happened in a woman's ear because it would kill her, and then Banquo comes in and he says it out loud. But, well, I guess he was exaggerating. Anywho, so Lady Macbeth says, What? Woe, alas! What, in our house? Too cruel anywhere. Dear Duff, I prithee, contradict thyself, and say it is not so. Re-enter Macbeth and Lennox with Ross. Had I but died an hour before this chance, I had lived a blessed time. For from this instant there's nothing serious in mortality. All is but toys. Renown and grace is dead. The wine of life is drawn, and the mere lees is left this vault to brag of. Enter Malcolm and Donalbain. This is Duncan's sons. What is the miss? You are, and do not know it. The spring, the head, the fountain of your blood is stopped. The very source of it is stopped. Your royal father is murdered. Oh, by whom? Those of his chamber, as it seemed, had done it. Their hands and faces were badged with blood. So were their daggers, which unwiped we found upon their pillows. They stared and were distracted. No man's life was to be trusted with them. Oh, yet I do repent me of my fury, that I did kill them. Wherefore did you so? In case y'all didn't know this, wherefore means why. So, why did you do that? Asks Macduff. Macbeth has already killed the people that he framed. And he did it off stage. Anyway. So Macduff, of course, who does things the right way, is like, why would you kill them before we've had a chance to talk to them? And Macbeth says, who can be wise? Amazed, temperate, and furious? Loyal and neutral? In a moment? No man. The expedition, my violent love, outrun the pauser. Reason. Here lay Duncan, his silver skin laced with his golden blood, and his gashed stabs looked like a breach in nature for ruin's wasteful entrance. There, the murderers, steeped in the colors of their trade, their daggers unmannerly breached with gore, who could refrain? That had a heart to love, and in that heart courage to make his love known. Wow, so Macbeth saying, wow, I love Duncan so much that when I saw his dead body there, and I saw the chamberlains with their daggers all covered in blood, I couldn't control myself. I had to stab him. By the way, this is a beautiful line. Like, if you're trying to pick up somebody, who could refrain that had a heart to love, and in that heart courage to make his love known? In fact, I've even seen it in 10 Things I Hate About You, and it's used completely different. Here it's used by Macbeth to explain why he killed people. Lady Macbeth understands that, like, that's not a good enough answer, and there's about to be an investigation, so she creates a diversion. She falls down. Help me hence, ho! Look to the lady. Then an aside to Donalbain, Malcolm says to his brother, why do we hold our tongues, that most may claim this argument for ours? What should be spoken here, where our fate, hid in an auger hole, may rush and seize us? Let's away. Our tears are not yet brewed. Malcolm's like, hey, how come we're not doing anything? Our father is murdered. And Donalbain's like, well, whoever murdered him might be in this room right here. Who's to say they won't murder us? Let's run away and cry later. Malcolm says, nor our strong sorrow upon the foot of motion. And then Banquo says, look to the lady. Lady Macbeth is carried out, and when we have our... Oh, this is still Banquo talking. And when we have our naked frailties hid, when we put some clothes on, that suffer an exposure, let us meet, and question this most bloody piece of work. To know it further, fears and scruples shake us. In the great hand of God I stand, and thence against the undivulged pretense I fight of treasonous malice. And so do I. So all. Let's briefly put on manly readiness and meet in the hall together. Well contented. Okay, worst crime scene ever. There has been a murder. And then right after the murder, there's been 2 more murders. And then Banquo says, well, let's just all go to our rooms and clean up, and then we'll talk about it. We have a crime scene, guys. Y'all should be doing an investigation. You know, they need to start interviewing possible witnesses and finding out alibis. And instead of doing all that, they just say, hey, let's go to our room, maybe take a nap, get dressed, and then we'll come back and talk about it. What a great idea. Terrible, terrible handling of a murder. All right. Okay. Everybody goes back to their rooms except for Malcolm and Donalbain. Malcolm says, what will you do? Let's not consort with them. To show an unfelt sorrow is an office which the false man does easy. I'll to England. To Ireland I. Our separated fortune shall keep us both the safer. Where we are, there's daggers in men's smiles. The near in blood, the nearer bloody. This murderous shaft that shot hath not yet lighted, and our safest way is to avoid the aim. Therefore, to horse, and let us not be dainty of leave-taking, but shift away. There's warrant in that theft, which steals itself, when there's no mercy left. Okay, so Malcolm and Donalbain converse, and even though their father has just been stabbed, they're afraid for their own lives. So they're going to split up. Malcolm's going to get on a horse and go to England. Donalbain's going to go to Ireland because they think it's too dangerous in that castle. But gee, I wonder what happens when you run away from a murder scene. Exit, end of the scene. Wow, Act 2 sure does go by quickly. Now here's the final scene of Act 2, Scene 4, outside of Macbeth's castle, into Ross and an old man, and it's dark outside. The old man says, 70 I can remember well, within the volume of which time I have seen hours dreadful and things strange, but this sore night hath trifled former knowings. He's like, wow, I've never seen a night like this, and I'm old. So Ross says, ah, good father, thou seest, the heavens, as troubled with man's act, threaten his bloody stage. By the clock 'tis day, and yet dark night strangles the travelling lamp. Is it night's predominance, or the day's shame, that darkness does the face of earth entomb, when living light should kiss it? The old man says, it is unnatural. Even like the deed that's done. On Tuesday last, a falcon, towering in her pride of place, was by a mousing owl hawked at and killed. Ross says, and Duncan's horses, a thing most strange and certain, beauteous and swift, the minions of their race, turned wild in nature, broke their stalls, flung out contending against obedience, as they would make war with mankind. 'Tis said they eat each other. They did so. To the amazement of mine eyes, they looked upon it. Here comes the good Macduff. Enter Macduff. How goes the world, sir, now? Why, see you not? Is it known who did this more than bloody deed? Those that Macbeth hath slain. Alas, the day! What good could they pretend? They were suborned. Malcolm and Donalbain, the king's 2 sons, are stolen away and fled, which puts upon them suspicion of the deed. Against nature still, thriftless ambition, that wilt raven up thine own life's means. Then 'tis most like the sovereignty will fall upon Macbeth. He is already named, and gone to Scone to be invested. Where is Duncan's body? Carried to Comkill, the sacred storehouse of his predecessors, and guardian of their bones. Will you to Scone? No, cousin, I'll to Fife. Well, I will thither. Well may you see things well done there. Adieu, lest our old robes sit easier than our new. Oh, clothes. Farewell, father. God's benison go with you, and with those that would make good of bad and friends of foes. Exit. End of Act 2. Okay, so this is, I guess, a couple of days after the murder of Duncan, at least a day. And there's already been some decision making. Macbeth has been named the king, and he goes to Scone to be crowned. The night of Duncan's murder, all kinds of unnatural things happened. For one thing, a falcon, who is a symbol of Duncan, is killed by an owl, which makes no sense because falcons fly high in the air and owls fly below the tree line typically. Falcons fly during the day, owls fly during the night. So it doesn't make any sense, or it's very uncommon for a falcon to be killed by an owl. It's very unnatural. And Duncan's horses, also symbols, broke out of their stalls and started to fight and eat each other, which is very unnatural and disturbing. And then Macduff says, the that obviously Malcolm and Donalbain must have been the ones who paid the Chamberlains to kill Duncan because they ran for their lives, and that makes them look guilty. But Macduff is not going to Scone to see the coronation of Macbeth. He's going to go home to Fife, where he lives. So Macbeth is successful. He has killed Duncan. Malcolm has been, fled, so he doesn't qualify to become the King of Scotland. So it falls to Macbeth. The witch's prediction has come true. That is the end of Act 2, and Act 3 awaits.